Hey guys, today we're going to do the unboxing and overview of the Asus Zenfone 10. So yes, this is my first Asus phone. A lot of you guys might not know that Asus makes phones. They don't advertise them or market them all that much. It's kind of like with my Sony Xperia. I'm the only person I know that carries one, and it's just like people don't really know if they don't do many marketing or advertising, right? A lot of people don't know Sony still makes phones. A lot of people still don't know like Asus still makes phones, but they do. And this was just released, what, 6 months ago or 7 months ago. It was released July, or yeah, I think it was July of last year. Anyways, this is their latest Zenfone, and I haven't done unboxing of a phone for a while because honestly, I've been pretty satisfied with my Samsung Galaxy Fold 4. This is my main phone and has been my main phone for over a year now. So I've been mostly satisfied with this, but the issue with the Fold 4 now is that a few months ago, well, you guys know why it's called a Fold, right? It's because it unfolds into a tablet, except with this phone, it seems like there is a problem where I don't know what happened, but it seems like the hinge is sort of locked up, and now it doesn't go any farther than this. This is the most it goes, and I don't want to like risk breaking the screen or anything like that, but it seems like it just, yeah, it just stops here. It doesn't want to fold, it doesn't want to like unfold basically. And that's the complete point of this phone. It's called the Fold 4 because it can unfold into a tablet, right? And yeah, I just ran into the issue with this phone. Now I can't really unfold it anymore, so I just have to use it like this. And that's fine, but yeah, now I'm carrying a much bulkier phone that can't really, like, it doesn't serve its main purpose anymore, right? This is part of the main purpose of the phone, is to be able to unfold into a tablet. If it cannot unfold into a tablet, then that's like basically half of the capabilities of this phone is gone. So yeah, that's why I started looking into other phones, because now I'm just carrying around a bulkier phone for no reason. Like, the whole reason of it being bulky is that it's supposed to unfold into a tablet, but since it cannot unfold anymore, I'm just carrying around a bulkier phone. So that's when I really want to, look for another replacement now. And I've been looking around at smaller phones in particular, because I don't like phones that are too large or bulky, and unfortunately that's where a lot of phones are like these days. Even the newer Pixel phones, they're just too large and bulky for me. Even the iPhone 14 Pro, I go back to the 14 Pro after holding, my Xperia 5.4 and the Galaxy Fold 4, which are both kind of like thin and narrow phones. After holding these phones, you go to like a normal sized phone and it feels weird. Even the iPhone 14 Pro or 15 Pro, like, I hold those phones and they just seem bulky, right? Maybe it's because I'm used to this narrow aspect ratio for such a long time, but I can't go back to like a normal sized phone anymore. I have to get like a smaller phone or like a narrower phone. And that's when I saw the Asus Zenfone 10. It's probably considered the best small phone on the market now, especially since iPhone doesn't release the mini anymore. Apple, doesn't make the iPhone mini anymore. I still have the iPhone 12 mini, but it's a little bit too small now, right? And yeah, Apple doesn't make any more iPhone minis. So really, how many small phones are there on the market? I already have the Xperia 5.4, which is my secondary phone. So that's the only other small phone I can think of that's really on the market that's pretty decent. Otherwise, you're looking at the budget phones, right? So yeah, the Asus Zenfone 10, I would say, is the only other phone on the market that's kind of flagship. It's got nice specs on it, and it's reasonably like small, portable sized. So yeah, that's where I ran into the Asus Zenfone 10. It seems like this is the only phone left on the market that kind of has flagship specs, but it's also reasonably small sized, I guess, for a phone. So yeah, we're gonna look at it. By the way, this logo here, which I think is the Zen logo, because if you see their newer Zen books and stuff like that, yeah, they do have this logo on it. It reminds me of the Aston and Kern logo, funnily enough, since I'm an audiophile, right? Aston and Kern's this Korean audio player company. Kind of reminds me of their logo. So at first I was like, this almost looks like an Aston and Kern phone. That would be cool. But anyways, that's the Asus Zen logo now. Okay, so it says all on hand. I'm not sure what that means. Okay, so, ooh, you got a case with this? That's pretty cool. Asus in search of incredible, okay. This is in Chinese because Asus is a Taiwanese company, but I would expect them to have English instructions at least. But yeah, it's pretty cool that they included a case in the box. I wasn't expecting that. Like these days, you know, you get less and less inside the box because again, Apple, right? You get an Apple iPhone and it ships with just the phone, no charging brick anymore. It just ships with the phone and cable. Well, with Asus, they go to the length of even including a case in the box. Take that, Apple. Actually giving you pretty substantial extras. Okay. Yeah, so this is the case. It's not like a super expensive looking case or anything like that, but the fact that they even include it in the box with the phone is something, right? That's nice. Right, here's the phone itself. And then let's look at what else. You get the charging brick, again, something that Apple doesn't give you anymore, but Asus gives you, nice. And USB-C to USB-C cable, as expected. Pretty standard. And yeah, that's pretty much it. You know, it's a smartphone. I'm used to using phones, so of course I know how a smartphone works. So let's part. Okay, so I got this in this kind of a slate blue color, which I thought was pretty interesting. There's these two really big cameras on the back. That's pretty cool, and then it has this the Zen logo right here. And yeah, this is a really nice size. Yeah, I wasn't totally sure just looking at the pictures and the dimensions, like how well this would fit in my hand. I wanted something that's easy to fit in my hand, just like the Galaxy Fold 4 and the Xperia 5 IV was. And this seems like it's, yeah, this is exactly what I was looking for. Something that fits very easily, like in my hand, like has this narrow aspect ratio, because now I'm used to that, right? I can't go back to the iPhone 14 or 15 anymore, or a Pixel, you know, they're just too wide for me now. It feels weird. I like being able to hold my phone comfortably with one hand with these narrow aspect ratios. So I'm kind of just used to that now. And the Zenfone 10 really fits that bill. I mean, wow, just look at this. It's, yeah, compared to my Xperia 5 IV, it pretty much is the same dimensions as the Xperia 5 IV width-wise. It's just the Xperia 5 IV is still a little bit taller. But then Sony Xperias are known for their taller aspect ratios. And that's fine. Yeah, just all around, this is a really good size. And it's bigger than the iPhone 12 mini or 13 mini, which at this point I think is a little bit too small even for me. So this is exactly the right size for me now. This is, if I was looking for a small phone on the market, a really powerful small phone, this is probably the phone to get. Because, wow, this size is great. It's perfect what I was looking for. Not as small as the iPhone 12 or 13 mini, but smaller than most of the other phones on the market. So perfectly comfortable to grip in one hand, and type with one hand too, which is one of the advantages I noticed with the narrow aspect ratio. And definitely, you know, better than carrying this bulky thing. Yeah, I mean, there's just no point carrying this, like, yeah, it works, right? I can use the main display and stuff, but why would I carry around this bulky phone if I can't even use the tablet portion of it, which is the main reason why it's bulky, right? So that's why I wanted to get the Zenfone here. So I'll tell you guys about the specs here, okay? This is a 5.92-inch display. Of course, it's Super AMOLED, 144 Hz, HDR10 Plus, 800 nits, 1080 by 2400 resolution, so all around pretty great specs. Android 13, but it's upgradable to 14, so latest Android, which is nice. Chipset is a Qualcomm SM85550 Snapdragon 8 Gen 2. That's a pretty fast processor. I don't know if it's the best processor you can get with the Snapdragon right now, but it's definitely pretty good. It's got 128 gigabytes internal memory, 8 gigs of RAM. Man, phones have really come a long way, right? I mean, nowadays, like laptops, I remember laptops have been, like, even today, you can still buy a laptop with 8 gigs of RAM, right? It's like laptops, the amount of memory hasn't gone past 8 gigs or 16 gigs for a very long time. That's what they've been selling since 2010s. But with phones, it's like, geez, now you have phones with as much memory as a laptop. Wow, phones really went up a lot. The RAM really went up a lot. The laptop's RAM just stayed the same. Camera, so you see these two big lenses on the back. So one is a 50 megapixel f1.9 wide angle, and the other is 13 megapixel f2.2 ultra wide. And there's no telephoto, and I think that's just because Honestly, like compared to my Galaxy Fold 4, which has the 3 lenses. One is wide, one's ultra wide, and one's telephoto. Telephoto is probably the least used out of all the lenses. Like you see the iPhone Pros, right? They have the telephoto one. The regular iPhone, the non-Pro ones, don't have the telephoto, and I think that's just because the telephoto is not used as much as ultra wide is. And I guess that makes sense these days because people take a lot of shots, just landscape shots and stuff like that with their phone. They want to capture as much as possible. It's generally a more used case than a telephoto, because the only time you use a telephoto is if you want to zoom in on something. And I would say the amount of times I needed to zoom in on something on my phone, it's really not that often. Yeah. So ultra wide for me is definitely more useful than a telephoto lens. And I think that's why you see like Apple and Asus and other manufacturers just omitting the telephoto off some of their phones, opting for the ultra wide. It just totally makes sense. Ultra wide is a more useful lens than telephoto is. Selfie cam is a 32 megapixel selfie camera. Jeez, we've gotten to 32 megapixel selfie cameras, guys. Man, I remember back in the day, like you get like a 2 megapixel selfie camera. No, I remember the iPhone 4S had a 0.3 megapixel selfie camera, which I think that's the first phone I took selfies with, was the 4S, and that had a 0.3 megapixel selfie camera. Now we're all the way up to 32 megapixels. Damn. Okay, stereo speakers. 3.5 millimeter headphone jack, guys. Thank you, Asus, for including that. Just like with Sony, they give you the headphone jack. That's awesome. I love that Sony and Asus are keeping the headphone jack alive. Thanks, guys. Yeah, after so many other phones, including Apple and Samsung, got rid of it. Okay, you got Wi-Fi 6E and 7. That's pretty new. I haven't tried Wi-Fi 7 before. Interesting. I didn't even know there's Wi-Fi 7 right now. Bluetooth 5.3. That's pretty new. aptX HD adaptive and aptX lossless too. That's pretty cool. It's aptX lossless. Of course, you have USB-C. That's to be expected. And Apple literally just changed to USB-C with the iPhone 15. It took them long enough that they finally were forced to change to USB-C just to keep up with the times. They're forced to keep up with the times because everyone's like, the EU was basically like, we've had enough of your proprietary BS with a lightning connector. Yeah, and let's see. We do have a fingerprint sensor. Is this the fingerprint sensor on the side? So you look at this This is the on button and also fingerprint sensor. I'm guessing this is the volume rocker right here. And then on this side, nothing. Oh, SIM card slots here. I wonder if there is a micro SD. No, there's no micro SD. Okay, so that's one thing that Sony still wins out over it in terms of features, because Sony actually does include micro SD as well as the headphone jack. So yeah, at least Asus got the headphone jack part right in terms of having these extra features. But Sony's still the only one I know, one of the few, companies still making nicely spec'd phones with a micro SD card slot. But yeah, it's cool at least that Asus gives us a headphone jack. And just the size of this phone is really nice. And these two big cameras on the back, by the way, I believe they have the auto gimbal stabilization. So you can kind of record stuff and has like a built-in gimbal inside of it. So that's pretty cool. So yeah, anyways, I think that's it. It's a really cool color too. I got this pastel blue color just to have something a little bit different. And yeah, this logo is like a very spacey looking, very futuristic looking logo. Every time I see it, still reminds me of the Aston Kern logo though. Maybe that's just because I've been too into audio these days. All right, so yeah, let's turn it on and then let's check out some of the capabilities of this phone. So by the way, this is what it looks like with the included case on. Yeah, just okay, nothing special, because this is just a nothing special case. It's just a typical looking case. Of course, protects the phone, and that's really all it does. It doesn't look pretty. It doesn't look like it stands out in any way, but it's not supposed to anyway. So it's just a regular case that was included for free, so I can't really complain. And just to show you guys how chunky my Galaxy Fold 4 is, yeah, like you can compare it here, right? See, the Galaxy Fold 4 by itself. And like, by the way, this does have the case on, but I believe the Galaxy Fold 4 is almost like the same size as both of my Xperia phone plus my Zenfone put together. Like, just tells you how how chunky the Fold 4 is, and that's another reason why I want to replace this phone with a phone I can like a smaller phone I can use, because if I'm not going to be able to use the tablet mode, then why carry around a chunky bulky phone like this? So yeah, that's part of the reason why I got the Zenfone 10. Alright, so now I have the Asus Zenfone 10 all set up with the typical wallpaper that I use. So yeah, like you can access the camera right from the lock screen, which is something that I remember from being able to do with my older iPhones as well, just having it in this corner right here. Of course, these days you can do that with most phones, but it's just yeah, it's nice to be able to do that. Like my Sony Xperia can do that as well. Actually, you can access the home and the mic too as well. There's different shortcuts you can use from the lock screen. So anyways, just a small little feature there. The fingerprint sensor works really well, so yeah, just pretty fast and instant like that. This phone is pretty fast and responsive. I mean, it does use a Snapdragon 8 Gen 2, so it's pretty fast. 144 Hz refresh rate, so the screen does look very smooth when scrolling. Obviously, you can't see on this video what I'm talking about, but trust me, it's a very responsive phone, and yeah, everything's very smooth scrolling and everything. So it does look really nice. So the overall UI looks very similar to Google UI. I did choose to use Asus's UI, which is, yeah, mostly similar to Google stock UI. It's a few differences here and there, but it's pretty close to stock Google. It's pretty similar to actually how Sony, right? Sony's Xperia UI is fairly similar to stock Google as well. They don't change too much, which is a good thing, because like a lot of people just prefer like the Google Pixel, for example, just for the stock Google UI, and Asus, just like Sony, doesn't modify too much of that. So yeah, it's pretty much, I guess, what we can go through. This is just my typical apps I usually install on it. I think the camera is what most people would probably be interested in. So I'm going to just use a subject here. So my Bowers & Wilkins PX8 headphones, for example. The camera is pretty good. I think this is actually an upgrade over my Fold 4 camera, because the Zenfone 10 camera is actually pretty good. Surprisingly good, I guess, given how little coverage the Zenfone gets. But let's take a picture here. There's a little wide angle picture. Of course, you can also use the volume button to take a picture here as well. This is the ultra wide angle, which is always usually a notable decrease in quality. Well, this is going to be using night mode, so it takes a while. Okay, there's a night mode here, 3-second night mode here. Yeah, so pretty much with every smartphone camera these days, the ultra wide angle is going to be lesser quality than the wide angle, which is a shame, because having a nice ultra wide angle lens would be good. But these days, yeah, phones always put more into the regular camera, the regular wide angle, than the ultra wide. You can also do a 2x zoom here. So yeah, even though there's no like dedicated telephoto lens, but it can do that zoom pretty easily there. Different modes here. Photo, there's a portrait mode right here. Panorama, of course. Light trail. I haven't used that before. It looks like there's certain effects you can use. Light graffiti, waterfalls, flow of people, star trails. Yeah, some certain settings you can use. I haven't tried that. You can also do Pro Night and Pro Video. I think the night mode should automatically activate depending on the amount of light that you have. So if I turn off all the lights, I'm sure I'll try to use the night mode. This video. So I guess you can test the stabilization here. It's supposed to be some pretty good gimbal-like stabilization, I guess. So you can try shaking the phone a little bit, see if it does any good stabilization here. I'm just trying to duplicate the shaking when I'm walking, I guess. That, of course, there's the selfie camera here. Let me turn that camera around. So here we go. Selfie camera. It's a 32 megapixel selfie camera, but it's not that good. I can already tell it looks very grainy. Time lapse, of course, you have access to time lapse here, and a slow motion. So yeah, ooh, it's a significantly darker. All right, and yeah, you can also, I'm using full HD here, 30 FPS. You can change to 60 FPS. You can change to 4K, and even you can record 8K on here. Now, I don't think I'll ever record 8K for any reason, but I'll just go full HD. It's usually what I usually do. Yeah, 4K. I don't even like record 4K because like what use do I have for that? Yeah, none of my laptops are 4K. My phones are not 4K. The only thing that's 4K is my TV. I don't think I really view my own videos on my TV. So yeah, I don't really have any use for 4K. So I just keep on Full HD. That's the way. The reason, by the way, a lot of YouTubers still record in Full HD, not 4K, because 4K will take up more battery life, more storage space, and there's very little reason to use it because unless you're going to watch your content on TV, yeah, on phones and laptops, they aren't 4K yet. So yeah, and this is some other stuff you can do there. Resolution, frame rate. Yeah, this is just some shortcuts here. Stabilization, adaptive, hyper steady. You can change hyper steady if you're, certain you're gonna be like, riding a bike or something like that. You really need that stabilization. But I will use adaptive because I'm guessing that'll automatically detect how much stabilization you need. You can turn the flash. Oh, that's pretty bright from that flash right there. I generally do not use flash because it's unless you have to, right? Because you know what I mean, right, guys? Like using flash, it's usually not very natural looking. Yeah, you have your typical. Oh, we just got these. Yeah, a lot of shortcuts here. There's a scan QR codes shortcut. That's useful. It looks like, what is this? System mode dynamic. I wonder what that means. There's a quick access to a calculator from the top menu. That's interesting too. Flashlight, hotspot has a quick access. That's useful. What else do we have here? You can set your alarm up here as well. They really put a lot of extra stuff into this top menu here. Oh yeah, switch data sim. That's a cool little feature too, I guess, when you're traveling and you want to, well, use a prepaid sim or something like that, then you can easily switch your data. That's pretty cool. Yeah, audio wizard, screen recorder, one-handed mode, wallet. Okay, that's added. Interesting. So anyways, ooh, it's a calculator. Yeah, we can look at our photos that we just took using the gallery. That's Asus's photo app. And this is the photo that we took using the wide angle camera, so these pictures are pretty good. The camera on the Zenfone 10 is pretty much the best you can get on a small phone right now. It's not going to rival an iPhone 15 Pro or a Samsung S24 or Pixel 8 Pro, but I mean, for what it is, like having a phone of this size, like this is pretty much as good a camera as you can ask for. It's not many other good small phones on the market right now. And yeah, the picture quality is pretty good from a phone like this. So it's not exactly a budget phone. This costs, what, $700 US. But at the same time, it's not too expensive either. I think it's right where you would expect a good featured phone to be. So yeah, it's not super expensive, like over $1,000, but it's not really a budget phone either. But I would say, yeah, on a phone of this size, it's probably the best camera you can get. Like, compare this to my Sony Xperia 5 IV, for example, and I don't know why Sony can never get their cameras right on their smartphones. At least this one has a shutter button, like Sony's always do. But yeah, okay, you can just compare that, right? This is Sony Xperia 5 IV, which, by the way, this phone was more expensive than the Zenfone 10. Originally, this phone was like, what, $1,000? And you compare that, and you can see that the Zenfone 10 camera is actually superior to that of the Sony's. Now you can debate which one looks more natural, but definitely I can see more detail from the Zenfone camera, and this is a cheaper phone than the Xperia. So yeah, so this is and I'm considering the Sony like a small phone, I guess, but the Zenfone does probably have the best camera out of a phone its size on the market right now. This is the ultra wide, which is not going to be as detailed, of course. Yeah, this is what you expect from ultra wide. It's just not going to be as detailed as the regular wide angle. And then here is the video that we took with the shaking. Try shaking the phone a little bit. See if it does any good stabilization here. I'm just trying to duplicate the shaking when I'm walking. Yeah, it does seem like it's trying to. It's not like if you don't have stabilization on a video, you really notice it because you can't really focus on the subject. So really, like when I go back to my old videos I took using my camcorders back in the day, or my GoPro before GoPro had stabilization, I could see like when it's shaking and stuff like that without any stabilization, you cannot really focus on the subject.
Try shaking.
But here, I guess you can still see the subject, right? It's not like
does any good stabilization.
It's not like you can't focus on it. So
duplicate the.
Yeah, I guess it's doing some stabilization behind the scenes. Now these days, a lot of phones do come with built-in stabilization for the video mode. Like my Galaxy Fold 4, I noticed, does have some stabilization on the video mode as well. But I think the Zenfone 10 does have better stabilization on the video mode compared to most other phones. So there's that. Yeah, let's take a look at YouTube just so you guys can see the well, the speaker quality here. So I'm just going to go to. This is just one of my videos, games that played with my brother.
Sure. It's the room.
Yeah, that's the room.
That's actually really good.
Yeah, my friend got that.
Yeah, I'll just turn it up to full volume here. No, here.
That's what he says the second time we do it.
Yeah, the speakers are pretty decent. Are they coming from? They're coming from down here. These are stereo speakers, so I think there's one speaker maybe. One speaker here and then one speaker here. But it does get pretty loud. Yeah, not bad. Speakers aren't bad. Okay. Yeah, of course it's an OLED display, so it looks really nice and everything. Yeah, overall I'm pretty satisfied with this phone. It's very light, easy to carry. I really just wanted to have another great small phone. And it's just that my Galaxy Fold 4 unfortunately cannot open up anymore, meaning I'm just using this display, but then it's really become just like a bulky phone to carry all the time. Since I can't use the tablet like mode anyways, so there's not much reason to carry a phone like this if you're not going to use the tablet mode. It's just it just becomes like a bulky phone. So yeah, this is definitely a lot lighter than that. And yeah, the size is really good for me. Like this is my Xperia 5.4. Both of these are pretty small phones, I guess. They're narrow. And I'm kind of used to the narrow size now. Yeah, so I'm just used to be able to use my phones one-handed now because I'm used to the narrow aspect ratio. But yeah, really satisfied with the Zenfone 10. I think this is definitely, in terms of the specs and camera, probably the best phone for its size. Yeah, like it is smaller than the iPhone 14 and 14 Pro, more narrow and everything. And of course, Apple doesn't make the mini phones anymore. So if you're looking for a small phone on the market that's very easy to grip, not bulky or anything like that, yeah, just easy to carry, easy to grip, the Asus Zenfone 10 is the best on the market right now. I would take it over the current Xperia 5.5, I believe. Yeah, I would probably take it over the Xperia 5.5, which is the other good smartphone, small phone on the market right now. And that's just because Sony, for some reason, just cannot do well in their cameras. But they do have the micro SD, so Sony does have the micro SD, so I'll give them props for that. But yeah, they can't seem to do well on their cameras for some reason, even though they're a camera maker. Yeah, the other thing is battery life. I think the Xperia will still win on battery life because Sony's have always been good on battery life. The Zenfone 10, from what I'm seeing, you can definitely get more than a day if you use it responsibly, but it's not going to, like, the Xperias can often last like 2 days. I remember when I first got the 5.4, it lasted pretty much 2 days on a full charge, so that's very impressive. Zenfone probably won't last like that, maybe like a day and a half-ish, using it responsibly. So, yeah. But again, if you guys, you know, cameras are so important to many people. So, yeah, I will say the best smartphone on the market right now, if you include the camera capabilities, is probably the Asus Zenfone 10. I would probably take it over the new Xperia 5. But yeah, that's just been my experience because Sony cameras on their smartphones have always been disappointing to me. Like, even though they've definitely done better, iterated on their smartphone cameras, right, and everything. Yeah, just, I don't know, like you see the Zeiss logo here, it makes you think it's a good camera. Nah, it's still a little bit underwhelming. my Galaxy Fold 4 takes better pictures than the Xperia 5.4, and then the Zenfone 10 actually I think is a little bit better than my Galaxy Fold 4 camera. So yeah, I think the Asus Zenfone 10. If you're into small phones, you can easily grip and carry. This is the best small smartphone on the market right now. I'm so glad that Asus is still making these phones, because for those of you guys who are, you know, still using your iPhone 12 minis or 13 minis, and you're looking for a phone that's just a little bit bigger but still pocketable and easy to grip, then definitely check this one out. So guys, the Asus Zenfone 10, my first Asus phone, and I'm quite satisfied with it. Alright, so after using the Asus Zenfone 10 for a few days, I can comfortably say that this is probably the best small smartphone on the market right now. So just for comparison, for the size, this is my iPhone 12 mini. Previously, the iPhone 12 and iPhone 13 mini was considered to be probably the best small smartphone on the market. But yeah, I guess nowadays we would consider the iPhone 12 and 13 mini to be too small. Like, even for people who like small phones like me, this is still like definitely maybe too small. We want to have something a little bit bigger. Then that's where the Zenfone 10 comes in. It's still not too big, but definitely a little bit bigger than the iPhone 12 mini or 13 mini here. And yeah, you can see that you do get a little bit more size here, a little bit more screen real estate, but it's okay. It's still not like, you know, like as big as a normal phone. So for those of us who love small phones out there, I know you guys, if you're sticking with the iPhone 12 and 13 mini, because, you know, there's not many good small smartphones on the market right now, do consider the Zenfone 10, because even though it is a little bit bigger, and I know it's, you know, for those of us who like small phones, we prefer our phone small, but still, is not that much bigger, right? You can see just a little bit bigger, and having a little bit extra screen real estate is nice, without it feeling too bulky, right? So that's the problem with a lot of the more mainstream smartphones on the market, is that, yeah, it's just too bulky for me. All the, you know, Samsung S24 or the iPhone 14 Pro, or the Pixel 7 or Pixel 8, those just feel a little bit too bulky for those of us who prefer smaller phones. But I think that the Zenfone 10 is definitely the right size for me. And IP68, water resistant. I don't know if I talked about that or not, but pretty much the same as the Sony Xperia. So it's actually, if you look at this, just a little bit smaller than the Sony Xperia 5.4 that I have, which previously, I guess you can consider this a small phone as well. It's just a pretty narrow, tall phone. But what I like about either of these phones is that you can easily use it one-handed. So that's an advantage I like about narrow phones. So if you just have like a normal size phone, which is a bit bigger, say you have like an iPhone 14 or 14 Pro, it's like this, and then it's not as comfortable to use one-handed. But then there's lots of instances where I'll say I'm like carrying a bag of groceries with one of my hands, and I only have one hand to text. So yeah, in that case, right, normally you had to like put down the bag of groceries and then start texting using two fingers, right, if you have a normal wide phone. But for me, because I like these narrower phones, I like using it with one hand. So just being able to stretch my thumb across like this is really useful, actually, just typing one-handed. So yeah, I do have to comment about that. It is excellent for one-handed use, and that's just an advantage in general with these more smaller, narrower phones, Galaxy Fold 4 as well. So yeah, that's another reason I prefer to have narrow phones now. Fingerprint sensor is lightning fast. You guys didn't even see the lock screen, right? That was so lightning fast. So just so you show again, you guys didn't even see the lock screen. See, normally the lock screen will look something like this, but you guys don't even see that, right? Because yeah, the fingerprint sensor is just so lightning fast, you don't even see that lock screen. So that's another thing impressive about it. Also, the camera is quite good. Like, people don't talk about Asus Zenfones or the Asus Zenfone cameras, right? They are actually quite good. So I have my Nintendo Switch Pro controller. Let's use this as a subject, okay? And I'll use my Galaxy Fold 4 to take a picture and we can compare. So I'm just going to use the normal wide angle here. Compare. Also, there's the ultra wide on the Fold 4, which, again, the ultra wide here, if you compare here, so we compare this one to the ultra wide on the Fold 4 here. You can maybe see the difference here. Now, the actual quality, it seems like there's a little bit more grainy on the Fold 4. So I might actually prefer the ultra wide on the Zenfone 10. But yeah, let's take just a normal picture on the Zenfone 10 here. Okay, pull that up. And then let's also use the Xperia 5.4 here, which I know has probably definitely the worst camera out of these three. The ultra wide is also the worst probably in terms of quality. It does capture a lot in the I mean, yeah, it's a decent amount in the ultra wide, but yeah, it's just low quality. So anyways, we'll just use the regular wide angle here. And we can take a look here. So this is the Samsung Fold 4 image quality, and then you can see that for sure the Sony Xperia 5.4 here doesn't get as much detail as the as the Fold 4, right? So also the aspect ratio is a bit different of the picture. I know. Let's try to zoom it in. Yeah, so I don't know if you guys noticed that, but the Fold 4 definitely captures a little bit more detail for sure on the wide angle. And then we can compare it to the Zenfone 10. See, this is the Fold 4 versus the Zenfone 10. So the Zenfone 10, yeah, I would actually say the Zenfone 10 looks better than the Fold 4. So the Asus Zenfone 10 camera is surprisingly pretty good, in my opinion. So yeah, I think it's actually the best camera out of the three of these. But let's look at the ultra wide as well. We can do an ultra wide comparison. So this is ultra wide right now. Let's compare ultra wide, because yeah, normal wide angle is generally pretty good on all these phones. Like maybe the Xperia as well, but the thing about the Xperia is under low lighting conditions it gets really bad. Normal lighting conditions it might be okay, but low light, the Sony Xperia really suffers. We'll use the Zenfone ultra wide here. Okay, so the Asus definitely takes more time because it's doing some of this night processing stuff in it. Okay. Alright, so now if we take a look, comparing, this is the Xperia 5.4 ultra wide with the Asus Zenfone ultra wide here. Actually, to be honest, the Xperia actually looks pretty good here. The Zenfone I'm starting to see like definitely gets a little bit softer and grainy. Xperia seems to be relatively okay. I don't see as much graininess on the Xperia 5.4 here. If we compare this to the Zenfone Fold 4, I mean the Galaxy Fold 4 here. Yeah, so Galaxy Fold 4 like this. I think the Galaxy Fold 4 probably looks the worst here. Yeah, interestingly enough. It's really getting pretty blurry with the Galaxy Fold 4. So okay, one thing, I definitely think the Zenfone 10 ultra wide seems to be better than the Galaxy Fold 4 ultra wide. Interestingly, the Sony's ultra wide camera is not too bad. Yeah, even though the main wide angle isn't that good, but the ultra wide actually isn't too bad. Yeah, so I actually think the Xperia 5.4's ultra wide looks the best out of here. Interestingly, yeah. So funny enough, I think the Xperia's ultra wide, it seems to look the best here, and then the Zenfone 10s, because the Xperia, yeah, it doesn't have that much grain actually. If I zoom in here, and this is on the ultra wide, it doesn't seem to have that much graininess on it. Whereas if I zoom in on the Zenfone 10, you guys can see there is definitely more graininess and smudges, like smudging, but you do not see that really on the Xperia 5.4. And then on the Fold 4, yeah, you definitely see a lot of smudginess and graininess. So yeah, out of the three, for the normal wide angle, Zenfone 10 has the best one in my opinion, and then the Fold 4 and then the Xperia 5. For the ultra wide angle, it's interesting. I think the Xperia 5.4 actually has a pretty good ultra wide, followed by the Zenfone 10 and the Galaxy Fold 4 in last place for that. So that's interesting. And this one was using the night mode to take that picture too as well. Yeah, but anyways, that's it. Comparison, these three phones. Yeah, the Asus Zenfone 10 is surprisingly good. Really, I'm glad I decided to check it out. I never owned an Asus phone before. I just was curious about this. Some of my friends recommended me this as a good small phone, and it really is good. I think this is probably the best small phone on the market. I would take this over the, overall, I would take this over the Xperia 5.5, I guess, is the newest model. Just because Although the Sony does a lot of things well, I do think they still need to work on their main camera a bit. Because yeah, the main wide angle, it still doesn't do very well, especially under low light conditions. And the ultra wide, right? If you put it under low light conditions, I'm sure the Xperia camera really falls down if it's under low light. Under this kind of lighting, it's fine, but under low light, yeah, the Xperia cameras really are not that good. Even the new 5.5 cameras, I doubt it's going to be much better. So overall, I think the Asus Zenfone 10 is probably the best small smartphone on the market, and then the Xperia 5.5. But then what else, what other small smartphones are on the market? Not that many, right? These are the only two that kind of have flagship-ish specs and are also, reasonably small. So, unless you want to count the Galaxy Fold as a small smartphone, I mean, it is narrow, but I wouldn't call this small in any sense because it's a bulky phone. It just unfolds into a tablet. So, yeah. Or you can consider the other folding phones. There is the Galaxy Z Flip and the Motorola Razr Plus. I haven't considered those, but those are folding phones. They certainly are portable, and you can definitely fold them up into a smaller size than these phones. Yeah, overall, they're also going to be a little bit more expensive. And yeah, I mean, I used the Galaxy Z Flip 3 for a year, and yeah, it's initially it's a novelty to have those flip phones, right? To have those folding flip phones, but overall, I don't think they're as reliable. I mean, you can see what happened with my, my Fold 4, right? The hinge is kind of just stuck in this place. And then with my Samsung Z Flip 3, the microphone just kind of broke down. So overall, I just don't find these folding phones as durable. So there's durability issues with them, although they are kind of neat. They're a novelty, right? To have the folding, and yes, for people who like small phones like me, technically they can get smaller than this phone. But you do have to open it up every time if you want to use it. There's durability issues with them. Yeah, so if you're looking for a non-folding small phone, I think these are going to be my top picks. Zenfone 10 and then the newer Xperia 5.5, which I don't have. But I think those are probably my top picks, unless you want to try one of those folding phones like a Z Flip or the Razr Plus. But I haven't tried the newest Z Flip or the Razr Plus. Just in my previous experience with folding phones, there's there can be issues with them if you use them for a while. Definitely, I would say compared to a normal sized phone, yeah, there's reliability issues. Something I forgot to mention about both the Zenfone and the Xperia. So on both of these phones, since they're easy to use one-handed, they actually have some shortcuts built in for one-handed use. So for the Xperia 5.4, there's this little button on the side there. You can actually press it, yeah, with your thumb or whatever, and you have shortcuts here basically. So you can use the multi-window, main, and pop-up. So these are like easy little shortcuts you can access by, yeah, basically using, yeah, so these are little shortcuts and stuff that are easy to access just by reaching over with your thumb. So that makes it nice for one-handed use. Same thing with the Zenfone 10 actually. So instead of having a button on the side, you just you swipe from the side and you'll have this quick access here. So you have quick access to like some apps. You can put some apps here, and then you have this essentially is the same thing as like pulling down from the top, I guess, except now you can actually pull down from the right, and then you can change this in settings. This is called the Edge tool. So yeah, I just want to do a little demo of that. Both of these phones are really nice to use one-handed, and also give you nice shortcuts so that you can use them both one-handed easily. Anyways, yeah, that's my unboxing and review of the Asus Zenfone 10. In my opinion, probably the best small smartphone that you can get on the market. And yeah, let me know if you guys agree or not in the comment section below. But this is probably going to be my main phone for the next few years. So, that's it, guys. Thanks for watching.